truly tragic that it takes a suicide for us as a community to come together and encourage people to talk about mental illnesses. What I find more appalling is that after 2 weeks, we go back into the same rut we've been in. A rut filled with shame for those who suffer with mental illnesses and cowardice for those who are lucky enough not to have any. Now you're probably asking yourself why I should listen to anything you say. At my high school, which I graduated from last year, there have been 2 suicides within the past 2 years. These weren't just random strangers I saw on the news and felt bad for a few minutes. They were people that I saw in the halls and musicals and plays and choir. They were the type of people who, even if they barely knew you, they would make you feel so loved. They would make you feel so loved because they couldn't feel anything but pain and sadness anymore. And I know what it's like to be that girl. My freshman year of high school, I was that girl. There was one night, and I remember it so well. There was one night where I was sitting in my room in the dark on my floor, writing down the ways I could kill myself and their pros and their cons. And I tried to bring myself to let out the pain in other ways, like cutting or burning, but for whatever reason, I couldn't, and it just made me more sad, angry, and depressed. And the thing that kept me from killing myself was the fact that my grandma, who's been the closest person to me in my life, was very Catholic. And if you don't know, Catholics have this belief that if you kill yourself, that's a godly act, therefore going against God. I didn't want her to think of me as a fallen angel doomed to spend my eternity in hell. But time passes. I start making friends, and I even start feeling better. Then Tuesday, April 26, 2011, my grandma dies. And all the progress I've made is lost. The person who kept me here just died. And I remember thinking back to that night. I called out to the God I believed in at the time, and I said, "How could you do this? How could you take her away from me when you knew how much I needed her? You just let her die, but you let all these pedophiles and rapists live." I lost my sense of self because she was my inspiration for everything. And without her, what does that make me? I lost my sense of faith because I couldn't believe in a just and living God anymore. How could he justify something like this? It takes me until September 2013 for me to stop hiding and tell the truth to my friends. To let them finally understand that I suffer with mental health issues. I have depression. And later in the year, I start taking medication, and it actually helps. Even though I have been ashamed of my history, I have learned the hard way that by not sharing your story, you can end another person's story completely. I read this great quote from Stacy Purcell at the Active Minds National Conference in 2013, in which she says, when you say to one person that I have a mental health disorder, you are changing the world. And it's a quote I have started living my life by. And I feel like by doing that, it's been slowing down any stigma that is within my family, friends, and community. Whether it's one person or 100 people, it's still a change. And it's a change we need. Now, if you are a person that is suffering with a mental health disorder, please know you're not alone. There are so many wonderful organizations that you can talk to, and anonymously. You don't have to give away your name, but you can still get help and feel normal. And I know it's cliche to say, but it does get better. Maybe not your whole life, but you will still feel so much better than how you feel right now. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and I hate when people say that, but here I am saying it because I've struggled with it, and I know what it's like to feel like you aren't good enough for this world, to feel like you don't know what your purpose is, and to just think that you're a nuisance and the world would be better off without you. But you don't understand the impact you have on people already. That's why you need to stay alive, so you can find out your purpose and why you belong here. And believe me, you do belong here. Please talk to someone and ask for help. You'll be surprised at who listens and does something about it. Ask for help before you don't have a voice anymore.